Sam Carter gripped the control stick with both hands as his cargo ship screamed through the atmosphere of Vosker. The ice planet had appeared on his emergency scanners after his navigation system failed 3 jumps ago. Now, with engines sputtering and hull plating rattling, he had no choice but to land. The blizzard hit him the moment he broke through the cloud layer. Walls of white snow slammed against his view screen. The wind howled like a living thing. Sam could barely see 50 feet ahead. His ship shook violently as ice formed on the wings. Come on, Sam muttered, searching for any flat ground. His fuel gauge blinked red. The right engine coughed once, twice, then died completely. The ship dropped fast. Sam saw a dark shape ahead, maybe a mountain or cliff face. He pulled hard on the stick, trying to level out. The landing gear deployed with a grinding screech. Then everything went white as the ship hit snow and slid forward, plowing through ice and rock. Metal shrieked. Sam's head snapped forward against his restraints. The world spun. Then silence. Sam opened his eyes slowly. His head pounded. Blood trickled from a cut above his eyebrow. The cockpit was dark except for a few emergency lights blinking weakly. He could hear the wind screaming outside, shaking the damaged hull. He checked himself for injuries. Nothing broken, just bruises. Lucky. He tried the engine restart. Nothing. The fuel cells were cracked. The ship was not flying again without serious repairs, and he did not have the parts. The temperature gauge showed -40 outside and dropping. Inside the ship it was already getting cold. The life support was running on backup power, but that would last maybe 6 hours. Sam pulled on his thermal suit and grabbed his emergency pack. He stuffed in a plasma torch, some ration bars, a medical kit, and a small heater unit. He also took his handheld scanner and communicator, though the storm was probably blocking any signal. He sealed his helmet and opened the hatch. The wind nearly ripped it from his hands. Snow blasted into the cockpit. Sam climbed out into the storm. The cold hit him instantly, even through the thermal suit. The wind pushed him sideways. Sam could barely see his own hands in front of his face. Everything was white and gray and screaming. He looked around, trying to get his bearings. His ship had crashed at the base of a massive cliff. To his right he could just make out dark shapes that looked like rocks or maybe ruins. Anywhere was better than staying in a dead ship. Sam trudged through waist-deep snow toward the shapes. Each step was a battle. The wind tried to throw him down. Ice crusted on his visor. His breath came in short gasps. After what felt like an hour but was probably only 10 minutes, Sam reached the structures. They were ruins, definitely. Ancient stone walls, half buried in ice and snow. Tall pillars carved with symbols he did not recognize. And there, a dark opening like a doorway. Sam pushed toward it. The entrance was partially blocked by snow, but he squeezed through. The moment he was inside, the wind cut off. The silence was shocking after the constant roar of the blizzard. Sam stood still, catching his breath. He pulled out a small flashlight and turned it on. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing a large chamber. The walls were smooth stone, covered in more of those strange carvings. Ice formations hung from the ceiling like teeth. He took a few steps forward. His light reflected off something ahead. Something big. Sam walked closer, his heart starting to pound. The chamber opened up into a vast space, like a cathedral carved from the mountain itself. And in the center, chained to the floor and walls, were 2 enormous creatures. Dragons. Sam stopped breathing. He had heard stories, of course. Every spacer had. Dragons were supposed to be extinct, wiped out centuries ago in the wars. But here they were, real and massive and terrifying. They were identical twins, mirror images of each other. Each one was easily 40 feet long from nose to tail. Their scales were deep blue, almost black, crusted with ice and frost. Massive wings were folded against their sides, also bound in chains. Their heads rested on the frozen ground, eyes closed. The chains that held them were like nothing Sam had ever seen. They glowed with a faint purple light, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. The metal was wrapped around their necks, legs, wings, and tails. Each chain was anchored to massive stone pillars that looked older than the ruins themselves. Sam took a shaky step closer. Were they dead? They were not moving. Ice covered their bodies so thickly they looked like statues. Then one of them breathed. A tiny puff of mist came from its nostrils. Still alive. Barely. Sam's mind raced. What had happened here? Who had chained them? And why? He took another step. His boot scraped on stone. The sound echoed in the massive chamber. Both dragons' eyes snapped open. Sam froze. His hand went instinctively to the plasma torch on his belt, but he did not draw it. The dragons stared at him. Their eyes were golden, like molten metal, ancient and intelligent. Sam saw pain in those eyes, exhaustion, and something else. Acceptance. They thought he was here to finish them. "I'm not going to hurt you," Sam said quietly. His voice sounded small in the huge space. The dragons did not move. They just watched him with those terrible, sad eyes. Sam slowly lowered himself to one knee. He kept his hands visible away from his weapons. "I'm just a pilot. My ship crashed. I was looking for shelter from the storm." One of the dragons made a sound, a low rumble that vibrated through the floor. It was not threatening. It sounded almost like a question. "I don't know why you're chained here," Sam said. He moved a little closer, still slow and careful. "But this is wrong. Nobody should be left like this." The dragons glanced at each other. Some unspoken communication passed between them. Then they looked back at Sam and he saw something shift in their eyes. Confusion maybe. Or disbelief. Sam stood slowly and approached the nearest dragon. This close he could see the chains were cutting into the scales, leaving dark marks. The metal pulsed with that strange purple light, and Sam could feel a weird energy coming from it like it was pulling at the very air. He pulled out his scanner and ran it over one of the chains. The readout made his eyes widen. The chains were not just holding them. They were draining them, pulling energy from their bodies slowly, keeping them weak and dying. "Who did this to you?" Sam asked softly. The dragon he was standing near moved its head slightly. Its lips pulled back and for a moment Sam thought it was snarling. But no. It was trying to speak. "VVV? Vorith?" The word came out like grinding stones, rough and painful. "Vorith?" Sam repeated. He had heard of them. The Vorith Empire controlled dozens of systems in the Outer Rim. They were known for being ruthless. The dragon managed a tiny nod. Sam looked at the chains again, then back at the dragons. They were dying. Left here to freeze and starve, drained slowly by these terrible chains. It was cruel beyond words. He made a decision. "I'm going to get you out of these," Sam said firmly. He unslung his pack and pulled out his tools. "I don't know how yet, but I'm going to try." Both dragons stared at him like he had spoken in an alien language. Their golden eyes went wide with shock. Sam knelt beside the first chain and began examining the locking mechanism. The storm howled outside, but inside the ancient chamber, something had changed. A human had stopped in the storm. And he had chosen to help. Sam sat on the cold stone floor, his tools spread out around him like a mechanic's workshop. The chain in front of him pulsed with that strange purple light, steady as a heartbeat. He had been studying it for over an hour now, and the more he learned, the angrier he became. The chain was not just metal. It was technology, advanced and cruel. His scanner showed energy flowing through it, pulling life force from the dragon and feeding it into the stone pillars. A slow execution designed to last years, maybe decades. "Who builds something like this?" Sam muttered. He ran his fingers along the metal, feeling the vibrations. The chain was cold, colder than the ice around them. The dragon nearest to him, the one who had spoken the word Vorith, watched him work. Its golden eyes followed every movement Sam made. The other dragon, its twin, lay further back in the shadows. Both were silent now, conserving what little strength they had left. Sam pulled out his plasma torch and tested it on a small section of chain. The metal did not even get warm. He tried his laser cutter next. Same result. The chain seemed to absorb the energy and feed it back into its draining system. "Of course it's not that easy," Sam said. He sat back and rubbed his face. His thermal suit was keeping him warm, but the cold still seeped in around the edges. Outside, the blizzard continued to rage. He looked at his scanner again, studying the energy patterns. The chain was not solid. It was made of segments connected by locking nodes. Each node had a small core that controlled the flow of energy. If he could disrupt one node, maybe the whole segment would fail. But how? The nodes were protected by the same energy-absorbing material as the rest of the chain. Sam stood and walked around the dragon, examining the chains from different angles. There were 6 major chains on this dragon alone. Neck, both front legs, both wings, and the tail. The twin dragon had the same setup. 12 chains total, all connected to the stone pillars. He knelt beside one of the pillars and studied where the chain connected. The stone was carved with more of those strange symbols, and they glowed faintly with the same purple light. The whole system was connected, one massive machine designed for one purpose: torture. Sam pulled out his sonic calibrator. It was a small handheld device he used for engine diagnostics, designed to measure vibration frequencies in mechanical systems. He pointed it at the chain and activated it. The readout showed multiple frequencies, all overlapping. The chain vibrated constantly at a very specific pattern. Sam adjusted the calibrator, trying different frequencies. When he hit a certain range, the chain's glow flickered just slightly. "There," Sam whispered. "There's something." He adjusted the frequency higher. The chain flickered again, more noticeably this time. The dragon lifted its head slightly, watching with new interest. Sam kept adjusting, fine-tuning the calibrator. The chain began to vibrate visibly now, resonating with the sonic waves. The purple glow pulsed faster, irregular. Then one of the locking nodes sparked. "Yes." Sam moved closer, focusing the calibrator directly on the node. The vibration increased. The node began to glow brighter, the energy inside it becoming unstable. Then it cracked. The sound was like breaking glass. The node split down the middle and the purple light died. The entire chain segment went dark and slack. The dragon gasped. Sam heard it clearly, a sharp intake of breath. The creature's eyes went wide. "Did that hurt?" Sam asked quickly, concerned. The dragon shook its head slowly. Then it did something Sam did not expect. It smiled. Just a small lifting of the lips, but definitely a smile. "One down," Sam said. He moved to the next node on the same chain. It took him 20 minutes to crack the second node. Now that he knew the right frequency, it was easier. The third node took 15 minutes. The fourth took 10. By the time he finished the sixth node, the entire chain fell away from the dragon's neck with a heavy clang. The dragon's head rose higher. Sam could see color returning to its scales, the ice beginning to melt. The creature took a deep breath, deeper than before. "How do you feel?" Sam asked. "Stronger," the dragon said. Its voice was still rough but clearer now. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Sam said. "We've got 5 more chains on you and 6 on your sibling." He moved to the chain around the dragon's front right leg. This one was thicker, with 8 nodes instead of 6. Sam settled in and got to work. Time lost all meaning. Sam worked in a steady rhythm, node by node, chain by chain. His hands grew tired. His eyes burned from staring at the scanner display. But he did not stop. The dragon tried to help, describing what it felt as each node broke. The feedback helped Sam adjust his technique. They worked together, human and dragon, in the silent ruins while the storm raged outside. When the leg chain finally fell away, the dragon flexed its claws for the first time in who knew how long. Sam heard joints cracking, muscles stretching. "What's your name?" Sam asked as he moved to the next chain. "Azric," the dragon said. "My twin is Sareth." "I'm Sam Carter," Sam said. He pointed the calibrator at the wing chain. "How long have you been here, Azric?" 17 cycles, Azric said quietly. 17 of your years." Sam's hands stopped. He turned to look at the dragon. 17 years? In these chains? Azric nodded slowly. "The Vorith wanted us to serve their empire. To burn worlds that resisted them. We refused. So they brought us here. They said we would die slowly as a warning to any others who defied them." Sam felt sick. 17 years of slow death, alone in the freezing dark. He turned back to the chain with renewed determination. "Not anymore," he said. The wing chains were the hardest. They had 12 nodes each, and the nodes were smaller and more complex. Sam's calibrator overheated twice, and he had to let it cool before continuing. His hands shook from fatigue. But finally, after what felt like forever, the wing chains fell away. Azric spread his wings for the first time in 17 years. They were magnificent, even weak and damaged as they were. The wingspan had to be 60 feet or more. Only 2 chains left on Azric. Tail and the other front leg. Sam was exhausted. His thermal suit's power pack was running low. He had been working for almost 4 hours. But he could see the finish line now. He broke the leg chain in 40 minutes. The tail chain took another hour because it had 14 nodes, the most of any chain. When the last node cracked and the final chain fell away, Azric collapsed. Sam jumped forward in alarm, but the dragon was breathing. Just breathing hard, like someone who had been holding their breath for years and could finally let it out. "I'm free," Azric whispered. Tears formed in the dragon's golden eyes and froze on his scales. "I'm actually free. Can you move?" Sam asked. Azric tried to stand, but his legs shook. He managed to get halfway up before collapsing again. "Too weak," he said. "The chains took too much." "Rest," Sam said. "I need to free Sareth." He gathered his tools and walked to the other dragon. Sareth watched him approach, her golden eyes filled with wonder and disbelief. "You saved my brother," she said softly. "A human saved my brother. And now I'm going to save you," Sam said. He knelt beside her neck chain and activated his calibrator. The work went faster this time. Sam knew exactly what to do. But his body was failing. His hands cramped. His back ached from kneeling on stone. The calibrator's battery was nearly dead. He pushed through it, node by node, chain by chain. Sareth encouraged him, her voice growing stronger as each chain fell away. When Sam broke the final node on Sareth's tail chain, he collapsed backward onto the floor. His calibrator died in his hand, battery completely drained. Every muscle in his body screamed. Sareth tried to stand just like her brother had. She made it to her feet but swayed dangerously. Azric crawled over to support her, and the two dragons leaned against each other, free but barely able to move. Sam lay on his back, staring up at the icy ceiling, too tired to even sit up. He had done it. Somehow, with basic tools and stubbornness, he had broken chains designed to hold dragons for eternity. Why? Sareth asked, her voice breaking. Why would you do this for us? You don't even know us. Sam turned his head to look at the two dragons. They stared at him with those ancient golden eyes, tears freezing on their scales. Because leaving someone to die when you can help is wrong, Sam said simply. Doesn't matter who they are. Both dragons were silent for a long moment. Then Azric spoke, his voice filled with emotion Sam could not name. In 17 years no one stopped. Ships passed overhead. Scavengers came to the ruins and fled when they saw us. Everyone left us to our fate. He paused. Until a human crashed in a storm and decided we were worth saving. Sam finally sat up with a groan. He looked at the two massive creatures, freed but broken, and made another decision. We're not done yet, he said. Now we need to get you both strong again. Sam dragged his emergency pack across the stone floor and opened it near the dragons. Azric and Sareth watched him with curious eyes as he pulled out ration bars, water pouches and medical gel. It's not much, Sam said, but it's what I have. He tore open a ration bar and held it out to Azric. The dragon sniffed it carefully, then took it gently between his teeth. He chewed slowly and his eyes widened. This is food? Azric asked. It tastes strange. It's compressed protein and nutrients, Sam said. Not exactly delicious, but it will give you energy. He gave another bar to Sareth, then took one for himself. The three of them sat in the cold chamber, eating in silence. Outside, the blizzard continued its endless howling. After eating, Sam stood and looked around the chamber. We need heat. You're both still half frozen and my ship's power is dead. I can't survive here much longer without warmth. He walked to his pack and pulled out the small heater unit. It was designed for one person in an emergency shelter, nowhere near enough for this massive space and two giant dragons. But he had an idea. Sam went back outside briefly, fighting through the wind to his crashed ship. He salvaged 2 more power cells from the emergency systems and the navigation computer's thermal regulator. The cold bit through his suit in seconds and he hurried back to the ruins. Inside he got to work. He connected the power cells in series, linked them to his heater unit and the thermal regulator, then rigged the whole system to create a feedback loop. It was messy engineering, the kind that would make his instructors cry, but it worked. Warm air began to blow through the chamber. Not hot, but enough to start melting the ice on the walls. That's incredible, Sareth said, moving closer to the makeshift heater. You built this from broken parts? Humans are good at fixing things, Sam said, and making things work when they shouldn't. He positioned the heater array between the two dragons so they would get the most warmth. Already he could see the thick ice on their scales beginning to melt. Water dripped onto the stone floor. Next, Sam examined their wounds. Where the chains had cut into their scales, there were deep marks, dark and infected looking. He pulled out his medical kit and found the gel applicator. This might sting, he warned as he approached Azric. The dragon held perfectly still as Sam applied the gel to the wounds on his neck. Azric flinched once but said nothing. The gel was designed for human injuries, but it seemed to work on dragon scales too. The dark marks began to fade slightly. Sam worked methodically, treating each wound he could reach. Some were too high on Sareth's wings for him to access, so he showed her how to apply the gel herself. She picked up the small tube delicately in her claws and followed his instructions. You're very gentle, Azric observed, watching Sam work. For a warrior. I'm not a warrior, Sam said. I'm a cargo pilot. I deliver supplies to mining colonies and research stations. But you fought the chains, Sareth said. You freed us when you could have run. Sam shrugged. That's just being a decent person. Doesn't make me a warrior. The dragons exchanged glances again, that silent communication passing between them. As Sam finished treating the wounds, Azric spoke quietly. We should tell you what we are. What the Vorith tried to destroy. Sam sat down on the floor, his back against one of the stone pillars. I'm listening. Sareth moved closer to her brother, and they both settled into more comfortable positions. The warm air from the heater made the chamber feel almost cozy despite its massive size. We are Sky Guardians, Azric began. Or we were. There were hundreds of us once, maybe thousands. We are an old race, older than most species in the galaxy. Our purpose was to protect, Sareth continued. We watched over younger civilizations, defended them from threats they could not face themselves. We never conquered. We never ruled. We simply guarded. Sounds noble, Sam said. It was, Azric said, and his voice carried deep sadness. For many centuries we kept the peace in dozens of systems. We stopped wars before they started. We fought off the things that came from the dark spaces between stars. Sareth's tail moved restlessly. Then the Vorith Empire began to expand. They conquered world after world, enslaving entire species. They saw us and wanted our power for themselves. They demanded we serve them, Azric said. They wanted us to burn their enemies, to terrify civilizations and to surrender. We refused. So they hunted us, Sareth finished. Systematically, ruthlessly. They built weapons designed to kill dragons. They poisoned worlds where we nested. They turned species against us with lies and propaganda. Sam listened, feeling a cold anger growing in his chest. How many of you are left? The dragons were silent for a long moment. Then Azric spoke, his voice barely a whisper. We don't know. We are the last Sky Guardians we know of. There might be others hiding in distant systems, but we have not heard their calls in 17 years. We might be the last, Sareth said. The very last of our kind. Sam looked at these two magnificent creatures, ancient and powerful, brought to the edge of death by cruelty and greed. Made him sick. Well, he said firmly, you're not going to die here. Not if I have anything to say about it. The days blurred together. The storm outside did not stop, trapping them in the ruins. But inside things changed slowly. Sam rationed his supplies carefully. He gave most of his food to the dragons, keeping only enough to stay functional himself. They protested, but he insisted. They needed the energy more than he did. He kept the heater running constantly, adjusting it as the power cells drained. When they got low, he made another dangerous trip to his ship and salvaged more parts. Each time he went outside, the cold tried to kill him. Each time he made it back. The dragons grew stronger day by day. Color returned to their scales fully. They could stand without swaying now, could move around the chamber. Sareth managed to fly short distances, her wings spreading wide in the enclosed space. They talked for hours. Sam told them about Earth, about humanity's journey to the stars, about the colonies and trade routes. He told them funny stories about cargo runs gone wrong, about the strange things he had seen in his travels. Azric and Sareth shared stories of their own. Tales of ancient worlds, of civilizations that had risen and fallen, of wonders Sam could barely imagine. They spoke of flying through nebulas, of dancing in the auroras of gas giants, of the songs their kind used to sing across the void. One night, as Sam was adjusting the heater, Sareth asked him a question. Do you have family, Sam? Someone waiting for you? Sam paused. Not really. My parents died when I was young. I've been on my own for a long time. The cargo routes are my life. That sounds lonely, Azric said gently. Sometimes, Sam admitted. But I chose it. Freedom over comfort, you know? We understand that choice, Sareth said. We chose freedom too. It cost us everything. Sam turned to look at them. Was it worth it? Both dragons were silent for a moment. Then Azric nodded slowly. Yes. We could not become what the Vorith wanted. We could not burn innocents, destroy worlds, spread fear. Even if we had lived in luxury as their weapons, we would not have been ourselves anymore. Better to die free than live as slaves, Sareth agreed. You sound like my old captain, Sam said with a small smile. She used to say something similar. As the days passed, something unexpected happened. The three of them became friends. Real friends, not just survivor and rescued. They shared meals such as they were. They told jokes and laughed together. They kept each other company through the long hours while the storm raged. Sam taught the dragons about human music, singing old songs from Earth that his mother had taught him. His voice was not great, but the dragons listened like it was the most beautiful sound they had ever heard. Azric and Sareth taught Sam some of their language, the ancient tongue of the Sky Guardians. It was difficult, full of sounds humans were not meant to make, but Sam tried. His attempts made the dragons laugh, which made Sam laugh in return. One evening, as they sat around the heater, Sareth said something that surprised Sam. You remind us of why we became guardians in the first place. What do you mean? Sam asked. You saw strangers in pain and you helped, Azric explained. No benefit to yourself. No reward expected. You just did what was right. That's what guardians do, Sareth said. Or what they did. We had forgotten after so long in the chains. We had forgotten what it felt like to have purpose. You showed us, Azric said quietly. A human showed the last Sky Guardians what compassion looks like. Sam felt embarrassed by the praise. I just did what anyone should do. But most don't, Sareth said. In 17 years only you stopped. That night, as Sam lay sleeping against Azric's warm side for heat, the dragons kept watch over him. And they made a silent promise to each other. This human had saved them. He had given them their lives back. They would never forget that. And they would make sure he survived this too. The bond between them was no longer just survivor and rescued. It was friendship true and deep. Human and dragons, unlikely allies against the cold and the dark. And somewhere outside, the storm finally began to fade. The storm had finally cleared. Sam stood at the entrance of the ruins, looking out at the pale sky of Vosker. The blizzard had lasted 6 days, trapping them inside. Now the air was still and quiet, almost peaceful. Behind him, Azric and Sareth were practicing flight in the main chamber. They were stronger now, not fully recovered but much better than when Sam had found them. They could fly, breathe fire and ice and move without pain. Sam smiled as he heard Sareth's wings beat the air. They would survive. They would actually make it through this. Then he saw the ships. They came down through the atmosphere like dark arrows, 3 of them, sleek and predatory. Vorith warships. Sam's blood went cold. Azric. Sareth, he shouted. We have company. The dragons rushed to the entrance. When they saw the ships, their expressions turned to fury and fear mixed together. They know, Azric growled. The chains must have sent a signal when they broke. How long until they land? Sareth asked. Sam checked his scanner. 5 minutes. Maybe less. The ships touched down in the snow about 200 yards from the ruins. Their landing gear hissed as they settled. Then the rear hatches opened and soldiers poured out. Vorith soldiers were not like any species Sam had seen before. They were tall and thin, covered in dark armor that seemed to absorb light. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. There were at least 30 of them, maybe more. And leading them was someone different. Taller than the others, wearing armor decorated with symbols of rank. He walked with absolute confidence, like someone who had never lost a battle. That's Commander Drex, Azric said quietly. He's the one who chained us here. Sam felt anger rise in his chest. This was the person responsible for 17 years of torture. This was the person who left 2 intelligent beings to die slowly in the cold. The Vorith formed a line in front of the ruins. Commander Drex stepped forward and when he spoke, his voice boomed across the snow. I am Commander Drex of the Vorith Empire. I claim the dragons Azric and Sareth as property of the Empire. Surrender them immediately. Sam looked at the dragons. They were tense, ready to fight but still weak. They could probably take down some soldiers but 30? Plus warships with weapons? They would not survive. Stay behind me, Sam said quietly. Sam, no, Sareth protested. You can't fight them alone. I'm not fighting them, Sam said. I'm buying us time. Trust me. He walked out of the ruins before the dragons could stop him. He walked through the snow toward the Vorith line, his hands visible and empty. Commander Drex watched him approach with what might have been amusement. When Sam was about 20 feet away, Drex raised his hand and Sam stopped. And who are you? Drex asked. Sam Carter, cargo pilot, Sam said. My ship crashed during the storm. I took shelter in those ruins. And you freed the prisoners, Drex said. It was not a question. I found 2 people dying in chains, Sam said. So yes, I freed them. Drex laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound. People? They are beasts. Weapons. And they are property of the Vorith Empire. They're not property, Sam said firmly. They're living, thinking beings. And I'm not letting you chain them again. The laughter stopped. Drex stared at Sam like he was looking at an insect. You? A single human? You think you can stop the Vorith Empire? I'm going to try, Sam said. Drex made a gesture. 10 soldiers raised their weapons, all pointed at Sam. Last chance, human. Step aside or die. Sam did not move. His heart pounded in his chest. His hands shook slightly but he kept them steady. Behind him, he heard Azric and Sareth moving to the entrance of the ruins. I said no, Sam replied. Drex's expression turned to genuine surprise. You would die for them? For beasts you barely know. For friends? Sam corrected. And yeah, I would. For a moment, nobody moved. The Vorith soldiers looked confused, like they could not understand what they were seeing. A single unarmed human standing against an entire squad, refusing to back down. Then Drex snarled. Kill him. The soldiers fired. Sam dove to the side, rolling behind a large chunk of ice. Energy bolts scorched the ground where he had been standing. He pulled out his plasma torch and threw it hard at the nearest soldier. It hit the Vorith's helmet and bounced off, but it distracted him for a second. That second was enough. A blast of blue fire came from the ruins, hitting 3 soldiers and sending them flying backward. Azric and Sareth charged out, roaring. The sound was deafening, primal, full of 17 years of rage and pain. The Vorith formation broke. Some soldiers scattered. Others fired wildly. Sareth's ice breath froze the ground, making several soldiers slip and fall. Sam scrambled to his feet and ran back toward the ruins. He grabbed a Vorith weapon that had been dropped and figured out the trigger. It was heavier than he expected, but it worked. He fired at a soldier trying to flank Azric. The bolt hit the Vorith's leg and he went down. Sam. Azric shouted. The rocks. Use the terrain. Sam understood immediately. The ruins were surrounded by large ice formations and broken stone pillars. It was not open ground. They could use that. He ran to a collapsed pillar and took cover. A soldier pursued him, but Sam waited until the Vorith was close, then triggered the ice beneath his feet. The soldier slipped, and Sam hit him with the weapon at close range. The dragons were fighting hard. Azric breathed fire in sweeping arcs, keeping soldiers at a distance. Sareth used her ice breath to create barriers and walls, changing the battlefield. But there were so many Vorith, and more were coming from the ships. Commander Drex watched the battle with cold eyes. Then he spoke into a communication device. Bring heavy weapons. Kill the human. Recapture the dragons alive. 2 soldiers emerged from a ship carrying a massive weapon, something that looked like a rocket launcher. They aimed it at Sam. Down? Sarah screamed. Sam hit the ground. The weapon fired with a shriek. The rocket passed over his head and exploded against the ruins, sending rock and ice flying. Sam's ears rang. He could barely hear. But he saw the soldiers reloading the heavy weapon, saw them aiming at Azric this time. He did not think. He just ran. Sam sprinted toward the soldiers with the launcher. Energy bolts flew past him. One grazed his arm, burning through his suit. He ignored the pain. The soldiers saw him coming and tried to turn the heavy weapon, but it was too slow. Sam jumped, tackling one of them. They went down together in the snow. The Vorith was stronger, trained for combat. He threw Sam off easily. But that gave Azric the opening he needed. The dragon's tail whipped around and struck the heavy weapon, smashing it to pieces. Sam rolled to his feet, breathing hard. His arm burned where the energy bolt had hit him. His whole body ached. But he was still standing. Commander Drex's calm finally broke. Impossible. A human and 2 weak dragons should not be able to resist. They're not weak. Sam shouted back. And I'm not giving up. He ran to another position, firing the stolen weapon. The Vorith were well trained, but Sam was unpredictable. He used every trick he knew, every bit of terrain, every moment of distraction the dragons created. Sareth froze a soldier's weapon, then shattered it with her tail. Azric grabbed another soldier in his claws and threw him into a snowbank. Sam hit 3 more with energy bolts from different angles. The Vorith were getting frustrated. This was not supposed to be difficult. It was supposed to be a simple recapture mission. Instead, they were being fought to a standstill by 1 human and 2 weakened dragons. Commander Drex drew his own weapon, larger and more deadly-looking than the others. He aimed it directly at Sam. Enough of this. He fired. The bolt was faster than the others, brighter. Sam tried to dodge, but he was too slow. Azric's wing swept down, blocking the shot. The bolt hit the dragon's wing and burned through the membrane. Azric roared in pain but stayed standing. No! Sam screamed. Sareth went wild with rage. She breathed ice in a massive wave that froze the ground between them and the Vorith, creating a wall 10 feet high. Sam ran to Azric. Why did you do that? Because you saved us, Azric said through gritted teeth. And we protect those we care about. Behind the ice wall, they heard Commander Drex shouting orders. The Vorith were regrouping, preparing for another assault. We can't win this, Sareth said, breathing hard. There are too many. Sam's mind raced. She was right. They had fought well, better than anyone expected. But the Vorith had numbers, weapons, ships. Eventually they would lose. Unless... Sam pulled out his communicator. It had barely worked during the storm, but now? He switched it to emergency broadcast, maximum power, all frequencies. "This is Sam Carter, human cargo pilot, broadcasting on all channels," he said. "I'm on Vosker at the old ruins. The Vorith Empire has enslaved and tortured 2 innocent beings for 17 years. They're trying to recapture them now. Anyone receiving this, please help." "That won't work," Commander Drex called from beyond the ice wall. "We're jamming communications. No one will hear you." Sam kept broadcasting anyway. He described everything. The chains, the torture, Drex's actions. He spoke clearly and quickly, hoping anyone would hear. The ice wall exploded. Vorith soldiers poured through, weapons ready. Sam, Azric, and Sareth stood together, backs against the ruins. They were exhausted, wounded, but they stood together. "Last chance," Commander Drex said. "Surrender the dragons, human. I might let you live." Sam raised the Vorith weapon he had stolen, even though he knew it would not be enough. "Come and take them," he said. The Vorith soldiers raised their weapons. Sam prepared to die fighting. The dragons tensed, ready for one final battle. Then someone else spoke, a voice booming from the sky. "Vorith vessels, this is the coalition ship Meridian. We received a distress call. Stand down immediately." Everyone looked up. A ship was descending through Vosker's atmosphere, much larger than the Vorith warships. And it was not alone. 2 more ships appeared, different designs, different species. Sam's broadcast had worked. Someone had heard. Help had come. Commander Drex stared up at the coalition ships, his expression twisting with rage. He barked orders into his communicator, and the Vorith soldiers hesitated, looking between their commander and the new arrivals. "Stand down, Commander Drex," the voice from the Meridian repeated. "You are in violation of Galactic Treaty 7, Section 4. Cease hostile action immediately." Drex's hand tightened on his weapon. For a moment, Sam thought the commander might actually retreat. Then Drex smiled, cold and cruel. "Those ships are still minutes away from landing," Drex said quietly. "More than enough time to finish this." He raised his weapon and fired directly at Sam. Time seemed to slow. Sam saw the energy bolt coming, brighter and faster than any before. He tried to move, but his exhausted body was too slow. Azric lunged forward, his injured wing spreading to shield Sam. The bolt hit the dragon square in the chest. Azric crashed to the ground with a sound like thunder. His scales smoked where the energy had burned through. "Azric!" Sarah screamed. Sam dropped to his knees beside the fallen dragon. Azric's breathing was shallow, his golden eyes flickering. The shot had been meant to kill, and it had almost succeeded. "No, no, no!" Sam pressed his hands against the wound, but he did not know how to help. His medical gel was gone, used up days ago. "Azric, stay with me." The dragon's eye focused on Sam's face. Sorry, Sam. I should have been faster." "Don't you dare apologize," Sam said, his voice breaking. "Don't you dare." Drex laughed. "One down. Now for the other." He aimed at Sareth. Something inside Sam broke. Not in defeat, but in pure rage. He grabbed the Vorith weapon from the snow and fired without thinking. The bolt hit Drex's shoulder, spinning him around. It did not penetrate his armor, but it hurt him. "You want them?" Sam shouted, firing again and again. "You have to go through me first." He charged forward, screaming, firing wildly. It was not tactical. It was not smart. But he did not care anymore. They had hurt his friend and he would make them pay. Vorith soldiers moved to intercept him. Sam dodged the first, shot the second, and rolled under the third swing. His body moved on pure adrenaline and fury. Behind him, Sareth stood over her brother's body. She looked at Azric, fallen and bleeding. She looked at Sam, fighting desperately against impossible odds. And something deep inside her, something that had been dormant for 17 years, ignited. "Enough," Sareth whispered. Then she roared. The sound was different from before, deeper, resonating with power that shook the very ground. The ice formations around them cracked. Snow fell from the ruins. Sareth's scales began to glow. Not with reflected light, but with inner fire. Her eyes blazed like twin suns. When she breathed, frost and flame mixed in the air around her. "You have taken everything from us," Sareth said, her voice carrying across the battlefield. "Our people, our purpose, our freedom. And now you dare to hurt those we protect." She spread her wings wide. They had been damaged, torn by the chains, but now they seemed to heal before everyone's eyes. Power flowed through her, ancient and terrible. I am Sareth, daughter of the Sky Guardians. And I remember what I am. She took to the air with a single massive beat of her wings. The force of it knocked over 3 Vorath soldiers. She climbed high, then dove straight at Commander Drex. Drex fired his weapon. The bolt hit Sareth's chest and bounced off harmlessly. Her scales were too bright, too hot. The energy just scattered like water on stone. Sareth's ice breath came like a blizzard, instant and overwhelming. It caught Drex and 5 soldiers, freezing them in place, coating their armor in ice so thick they could not move. The other soldiers opened fire. Dozens of energy bolts filled the air. Sareth flew through them like they were nothing, spinning and diving with grace that seemed impossible for something so large. She breathed ice on one group of soldiers, then banked hard and breathed fire on another group. The rapid temperature changes shattered armor and disabled weapons. Vorath soldiers scattered in panic. On the ground, Sam reached Azric again. The dragon was still breathing but barely. His scales were cold to the touch. Azric, please, Sam begged. Don't leave us. Don't leave her. Azric's eye opened slightly. He saw his sister flying above, magnificent and powerful, defending them all. He saw Sam, bleeding and exhausted, kneeling beside him. She remembers, Azric whispered. She remembers what we are. Then you remember too, Sam said fiercely. You're a Sky Guardian. You protect people. Well, I need protecting right now, and so does your sister. So get up. Something in Sam's words reached through Azric's pain. The dragon's other eye opened. He looked at Sam, really looked at him, and saw what Sareth had seen. This human had saved them. Had freed them from chains. Had fed them and healed them and become their friend. Had stood against an empire to protect them. Had charged into battle knowing he would die. And now he was begging Azric to live, not for himself but because others needed him. That was what it meant to be a guardian. Power flooded through Azric like a dam breaking. It started in his chest, right where Drex's bolt had hit him, and spread outward. The wound began to close. His scales brightened. Heat radiated from his body, melting the snow around him. You're right, Azric said, his voice strong again. I am a Sky Guardian. He rose to his feet. The movement was smooth, powerful, nothing like the weakness from before. His wings spread and they were whole, the torn membrane healed. Azric's roar joined his sister's. The 2 voices together created a harmony that had not been heard in the galaxy for decades. The sound of Sky Guardians, awakened and angry. Azric launched himself into the air. His blue fire lit up the pale sky like a star. He joined Sareth in the air, and the 2 dragons flew together in perfect synchronization, just like they had centuries ago before the Vorath hunted them. The Vorath soldiers below had no chance. The twins attacked with devastating precision. Azric's fire and Sareth's ice struck in coordinated waves, destroying weapons, freezing ground, creating walls of flame and frost that herded the soldiers together. Sam watched from the ground, barely able to believe what he was seeing. These were not the weak, half-dead creatures he had found in chains. These were dragons, true dragons in their full power and glory. But the Vorath warships were still a threat. Their main weapons were powering up, preparing to fire on the dragons. Sam's communicator crackled to life. Sam Carter, this is Captain Lynn of the Coalition ship Meridian. We're almost in position. Keep broadcasting. The whole galaxy is watching. Sam realized his communicator was still on, still transmitting everything. The battle, the dragons, all of it was being broadcast across multiple frequencies. He grabbed the communicator and spoke clearly. This is Sam Carter. You're seeing Sky Guardians, the last of their kind, defending themselves against the empire that tried to destroy them. The Vorath Empire chained these beings for 17 years, left them to die slowly as punishment for refusing to become weapons. In the sky, Azric and Sareth heard Sam's words. They understood what he was doing. He was not just calling for help. He was telling their story, making sure the galaxy knew the truth. The dragons flew higher, making themselves visible against the pale sky. They wanted to be seen. Wanted the galaxy to know they still existed. One of the Vorath warships fired its main cannon. The massive energy beam shot toward Sareth. She did not dodge. Instead, she flew straight at it, opened her mouth and breathed ice. Not a normal breath, but a concentrated beam of absolute cold, the kind that could freeze molecules in place. The ice beam met the energy beam in midair. For a second they struggled against each other. Then Sareth's ice won. The beam froze, crackling backward toward the ship. The cannon exploded, disabled by its own frozen energy. Azric dove at another ship, his claws extended. He raked across the hull, his fire melting through armor plating. The ship's engines sputtered and died. The third Vorith ship tried to flee, its engines powering up for atmospheric exit. The dragons let it go. They were not destroyers. They were guardians. They fought to protect, not to kill unnecessarily. On the ground, Commander Drex finally broke free from the ice coating his armor. He looked up at the dragons, at the disabled ships, at his scattered forces. "Impossible," he whispered. They were drained. They were dying. "You forgot something," Sam said, walking toward him with the Vorith weapon still in his hands. "You can chain someone's body. But you can't chain their spirit." The coalition ships landed and soldiers poured out. But these were not attackers. They were peacekeepers, recording everything, securing the area. Drex was surrounded. His soldiers were surrendering. The battle was over. Azric and Sareth landed on either side of Sam, their wings creating small windstorms. They stood tall and proud, protecting their friend one final time. Captain Lin approached, a tall woman in coalition uniform. She looked at the dragons with awe, then at Sam with respect. "Sam Carter," she said. "Your broadcast reached 40 systems. Everyone saw what happened here. The Vorith Empire will answer for this." "Good," Sam said simply. Then his legs gave out. Azric caught him gently before he hit the ground. "Rest, Sam. We have you." As consciousness faded, Sam heard Saretha's voice, soft and warm. "You gave us back our purpose, little human. You reminded us what it means to be guardians. We won't forget. Ever." Sam woke up in a medical bay. The ceiling above him was white and clean, nothing like the icy ruins of Vosker. For a moment he panicked, unsure where he was or what had happened. Then he heard a familiar voice. "He's awake," Azric said softly. Sam turned his head and saw both dragons sitting beside his bed. They were inside the coalition ship, somehow fitting in a space that seemed too small for them. Their scales gleamed with health, their eyes bright and alert. "How long was I out?" Sam asked. His voice came out rough and dry. 2 days, Sareth answered. She moved closer, her massive head hovering near Sam's bed. "You collapsed from exhaustion, blood loss, and exposure. The doctor said you were lucky to be alive." "Lucky seems like the wrong word," Sam said with a weak smile. "I feel like I got hit by a cargo hauler." "You fought an empire," Azric said. "Some pain is expected." A human doctor entered the room, checked Sam's vital signs and declared him recovering well. She gave him water and some medication, then left with a nervous glance at the dragons. Most people were still not used to seeing Sky Guardians up close. When they were alone again, Sareth spoke quietly. "Sam, we need to talk about what happens next." "The Vorith?" Sam asked. "The Coalition is handling that," Azric said. "Your broadcast reached across the galaxy. Dozens of species saw what the Vorith did to us, saw their cruelty. The Empire is facing serious consequences. Commander Drex and his soldiers are in custody." "Good," Sam said. He tried to sit up, wincing at the pain in his ribs. "But that's not what we want to talk about," Sareth continued. She and Azric exchanged one of their silent looks. Then they both focused on Sam with an intensity that made him nervous. "Sam Carter," Azric said formally. "You saved our lives. You freed us from chains meant to kill us slowly. You fed us, healed us, and protected us when we were weak. You stood against an empire for us," Sareth added. "You risked everything, gained nothing, and never asked for anything in return." "You're my friends," Sam said simply. "That's what friends do." The dragons were quiet for a moment. Then Sareth made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. "Exactly," she said. "Friends. Not masters and servants. Not owners and property. Friends." Azric nodded slowly. "In all our long years we have served many species. We have been allies, protectors, and guardians. But we have never had a friend like you. What we want to say is this," Sareth continued. "We pledge ourselves to you and to humanity. Not as servants or weapons. As equals. As friends and allies." Sam stared at them, not sure what to say. "You don't owe me anything." "This is not about debt," Azric said firmly. "This is about choice. We choose to stand with humanity. We choose to stand with you." "The galaxy thought Sky Guardians were extinct," Sareth said. "Let them know we have returned. And let them know we have found worthy allies." Before Sam could respond, Captain Lin entered the medical bay. She nodded respectfully to the dragons, then addressed Sam. "Mr. Carter, the Coalition Council has reviewed all the evidence from Vosker. Your testimony, the broadcast footage, and the dragon's account. The Vorith Empire is being sanctioned, and their expansion has been halted." "What about Azric and Sareth?" Sam asked. "They are free beings," Captain Lin said. No laws or treaties can claim them as property. They can go wherever they wish. She paused. We've also repaired a scout ship for you. Your cargo vessel was too damaged to salvage, but this ship will get you home to Earth. If that's where you want to go. Sam looked at the dragons. What do you want to do? We want to see your world, Azric said. Earth. We want to meet your people and offer our alliance properly. Plus, someone needs to make sure you get home safely, Sareth added with what Sam was learning to recognize as dragon humor. 3 days later, Sam stood in the hangar bay of the Meridian, looking at his new ship. It was small but sleek, much nicer than his old cargo hauler. The coalition had been generous. Azric and Sareth stood beside him, ready to depart. They would fly alongside his ship, escorting him through space. Captain Lin approached one final time. Safe travels, Sam Carter. What you did on Vosker won't be forgotten. You showed the galaxy what one person can do when they choose compassion over fear. I just did what felt right, Sam said. That's what makes it matter, Captain Lin replied. Sam boarded his ship and powered up the engines. Through the view screen he saw the hangar doors opening to reveal the stars beyond. Azric and Sareth launched themselves into space first. Sam had seen them fly in atmosphere, but this was different. In the void they were even more magnificent. They moved like dancers, their wings catching starlight, their scales reflecting the glow of distant suns. Sam guided his ship out of the hangar and fell into formation with the dragons. Together the three of them set course for Earth. As they traveled through the darkness between stars, Azric and Sareth began to sing. It was not like any music Sam had heard before. It was deep and resonant, vibrating through space itself. The song had no words, but Sam understood its meaning anyway. It was a call, ancient and powerful, reaching out across the galaxy. What are they doing? Sam asked over the comm system. Sareth's voice came through, warm and excited. We're calling to any other Sky Guardians who might have survived. We're telling them it's safe to come out of hiding. We're telling them the age of fear is ending. Sam watched in awe as the song spread outward like ripples in water. His ship's sensors picked up strange energy patterns, the song carrying farther than should have been possible. Hours passed. Then days. Sam and the dragons talked as they traveled, sharing stories and making plans. Sam told them about Earth's oceans and mountains, about human cities and culture. The dragons described what they remembered of their old home world, now long destroyed. On the 4th day of their journey, something incredible happened. Sam's sensors detected movement ahead. He squinted at the view screen, trying to make out what he was seeing. Then he understood. Dragons. 3 of them emerging from behind an asteroid field. They were smaller than Azric and Sareth, younger perhaps, but definitely Sky Guardians. They heard us, Azric whispered, his voice filled with emotion. They actually heard us. The 3 new dragons approached cautiously. Azric and Sareth flew to meet them, and Sam watched as the 5 dragons circled each other in space, touching wings, communicating in ways he could not hear. Over the next week, more dragons appeared. Some came alone, others in pairs. They emerged from hidden corners of the galaxy, from asteroid belts and dead moons, from ice worlds and gas giant atmospheres. Places they had been hiding for years, sometimes decades. Each one had heard the call. Each one had thought they were the last. And each one wept when they saw others of their kind still alive. By the time Sam's ship approached Earth's solar system, 23 Sky Guardians flew in formation around him. 23 survivors of a species the galaxy thought extinct. Earth's defense grid detected them long before they arrived. Sam received dozens of hails, confused voices demanding to know what was happening. This is Sam Carter, human cargo pilot. Sam broadcast on all channels. I'm returning home. And I've brought friends. The dragons spread out as they approached Earth, not threatening but visible. They wanted humanity to see them clearly, to know what was coming. Sam landed at the Coalition Embassy in Geneva. The dragons touched down around the building, their wings creating windstorms that bent trees and scattered papers. Crowds gathered immediately. Humans pointed and stared and recorded everything on their devices. The whole world was watching. Sam stepped out of his ship, still wearing his battered thermal suit. Azric and Sareth landed on either side of him, protective as always. A woman in an official uniform approached carefully. Sam Carter? I'm Ambassador Chin. We received your messages, but we didn't quite believe. Are these really Sky Guardians? Sam confirmed. The last of their kind. And they want to talk. Azric stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice carried across the plaza, and translation devices automatically activated for those who needed them. People of Earth, Azric said. We are the Sky Guardians, protectors and defenders from the ancient days. We were hunted nearly to extinction by those who feared our power. We hid in the darkness, waiting to die. Sareth continued. Then one of your kind found us. Sam Carter freed us from chains. He gave us food when he had little. He defended us when we were weak. He risked his life for strangers. He showed us what we had forgotten, Azric said. What it means to protect. What it means to care. What it means to be a guardian. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. So we make this pledge, Sareth declared. We, the Sky Guardians, offer humanity our friendship and our alliance. Not as servants. Not as weapons. As equals. Your courage inspired us, Azric said. Your compassion saved us. And now, together, we will make sure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else. The other dragons, still circling above, roared their agreement. The sound shook windows and made the ground tremble. Ambassador Chen looked at Sam, then at the dragons, then back at Sam. She smiled. On behalf of Earth, she said, we accept your friendship. Welcome home, Sky Guardians. That night, Sam stood on a balcony overlooking Geneva. Below, humans and dragons mingled carefully, beginning to learn about each other. It would take time, he knew. Trust had to be built. But it was a start. Azric and Sareth joined him on the balcony, their warmth cutting through the evening chill. Thank you, Sam said quietly. For everything. We should be thanking you, Sareth replied. You gave us more than freedom, Azric added. You gave us purpose again. A reason to be guardians. Sam looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, more dragons might still be hiding. But now they would hear the call. Now they would know they were not alone. A new age had begun. An age of Sky Guardians and humans working together. And it had started with one person who stopped in a storm and chose to help. What will you do now? Sam asked the dragons. Stay with you, Sareth said simply. You're our friend. Friends stay together. Azric nodded. Besides, someone needs to keep you out of trouble. Sam laughed. For the first time in weeks he felt truly at peace. Above them, dragons soared through Earth's night sky, their scales catching moonlight. Below, humans watched in wonder. And everywhere across the galaxy, the ancient song of the Sky Guardians echoed through the void. The last had become the first. The hidden had emerged. The age of guardians had returned. And it all began because one human refused to walk away from those in need.